Shabbat Shalom. When I was young, I used to enjoy reading science fiction books and watching science fiction movies. And one of the themes that was very prevalent was a future where robots became so evolved that they could take over many of the tasks the human beings were doing. And then human beings were left with nothing to do because the robots had taken care of everything else. And then in many of them, the robots also then turn on the human beings. But there's also another side to it too, which was that out of all of this, there was a growing loneliness from human beings, because each one of them was just one individual taken care by an army of robots and not interacting with other human beings. And then one more modern one, an animated movie that came out not that long ago, Wall-E. It's a future where individual human beings are on spaceships eating and drinking fast food with just surrounded in a big chair connected to screens and just completely vegged out and going through the universe in that way, nothing else in their lives. So in the past months, many of us have been hearing about this revolution in artificial intelligence, right? And since the new AI chatbots come out, and AI really appears to be on the verge of taking over a lot of what used to be human tasks. Writing articles, giving Divrei Torah. I tested that this week to see if they could give a Dvar Torah. And I wrote, in the style of my father, who's a rabbi, would they be able to find his stuff online? And they did. And then in the next decade, they say many jobs, administrative jobs, all kinds of jobs may be taken over by artificial intelligence. And it could revolutionize the way we do everything and interact with everything. But what will it feel like to be a human being without work, without purpose, machine doing everything for you? So the Torah this week is the portion of the Metzora. And the Metzora in the Bible was a person who was stricken with a particular kind of skin disease, a very mysterious skin disease, because you read the Torah, it could come up in the legions that were yellow and red and white, but it also could be caught by houses. And the priest would see a person with this and say, this person is impure, and then later on they would declare, this person is back pure again. And they would have to make sacrifices. And there's many, many verses of the Torah that are dedicated to this strange disease. And the rabbis, they said, what is this disease? This disease, which they didn't recognize from anything in their time. It must be some ancient disease. They really had a spiritual cause. And in their mind, it was when a person speaks ill of another person, that's, in those days, which were holier, that's what would happen. And they see this because there's a point in the Torah where Miriam speaks ill about Moses, and then God strikes her with this disease. So it's a very unusual part of the Torah, creepy. And what emerges from it in some really interesting way, maybe more than any other part of the entire Torah, is the intense sense of togetherness of this community of the Jews who had left Egypt and were now in the desert traveling together. And the togetherness we still have, right? Because the disease, what it did was disrupted community. And the priests were the spiritual symbols within the community. They would examine the impure, and if they were impure, they'd have to send them away from the community. They'd have to leave that intense togetherness of these people who had left Egypt together, and they'd have to rend their clothes, the Torah says, and walk out of camp screaming, I am impure, and spend a period of time away in seclusion from everybody else. And then when they came back, it was this really beautiful ritual. The priest would come and declare them pure again. And then if they were ready, they would shave all of their hair. They would take a ritual bath in mikvah. And then they would make a sacrifice. And two birds. One of the birds would just be sacrificed, and the other would be let loose over the fields, completely free. And the commentators say it was symbolic of a sense of expanse and of suddenly feeling one's heart expand back to include everybody else, returning to the community. So the rabbis, when they said that this is all about speaking ill about another person, part of it is because community was so important to them. Right? Hillel says, do not withdraw from the community. And it's why for them the punishment of seclusion, that's the worst thing that can happen to you when community is so important, to be sent away from everybody else. And there's only one sin in their mind which would be so bad for that, and that's when you start to turn the community into a bad place by going around and speaking ill and gossiping and doing all of that. And then, so what was the punishment? Its punishment was not being surrounded by all the people you love and by the rhythm of life of the movements of the community. It was about being put into seclusion. And Sarat, what was this force? This is the force of gossip and slander that pushes people away from each other and causes trouble within the community. And for that person, it's about losing that sense of being with other people. It was communal death. And for Jews, community has been everything for us. It's been the chaim, the life of us through from Sinai, from Egypt to Sinai, through millennia of persecution. It's what's kept us together, part of a whole, and a sense of being able to serve other people and being part of something greater than ourselves. And when it's not been there, we've had this sense of a spiritual disease, of not feeling it. And maybe that means that we have something to contribute at this moment in time when community is being so eroded, and we have this sense it might be even more eroded. The machines are going to take over. But then maybe we have something to teach. And maybe there is a ritual there that we can take here of how to counterbalance this side of life that's only growing, of being more and more hooked into computers, of a way of coming back into the community, of coming back among other people, of feeling a sense of love and of expansion of our inner being instead of just focused into the ether. So that we too can all feel, even as our physical lives are improved, that our spiritual lives also have a grounding, and that we continue to evolve as spiritual, social beings bound together by God and the covenant that's held us together for millennia. Shabbat Shalom.